Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Cinema Savvy, I guess. This is another one from the London Film Festival this year. We are rolling on with loads more films from this festival, and today we're going to be reviewing Mangrove. This is the first in, I guess, a series of films. It's very unusual. I've never really seen this being done before in this way. But Steve McQueen, director of 12 Years a Slave, has gone and made 5 films about Black history in the UK. And it's called the Small Axe series. It's going to be out on BBC One over the next few months. I think all 5 episodes are going to be out by Christmas.
November 20th, I think they're getting screened. At least that's when they're going to start, I think. So,
but we're getting all 5 episodes, hopefully by Christmas, on actual British TV, which for most people, if you have a TV license, is free, which is fantastic. We were lucky enough to see this as part of the film festival. So this is Mangrove. I'm going to pass you on to Chris in a second for the socials, but first, how are you guys doing today?
I was doing good. I woke up very early, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed to watch this film because you only get that small window of time to actually watch the film. So, having not had much sleep, I woke up at about 10 to 9, ready to watch this film at 9. And boy, I think I messaged you straight after, didn't I, Tayte, saying that was a wake-up call. A film about systemic racism, very hard-hitting, powerful movie. As soon as you wake up, so you got to be switched on, and this film's going to take you to places, and oh boy, it did. But other than that, no, doing pretty good.
I am 10 minutes off missing this because, on the other hand, I woke up late, set through my alarm, and I had 10 minutes left to press play before it was blocked off from seeing it. So it was still first thing, but it finished at lunch, and then it was just, okay, how do I take my mind off this game? I'm just going to go out for a walk. That was intentional before I saw the film anyway. But yeah, it was... For one of the biggest films at the festival, I think it's nice to get it because today is officially day 1 of the festival. We've obviously had early access to press screenings, but the festival begins as of today. There was a premiere at the BFI South Bank with a couple of the cast. So this is what I was looking forward to, maybe the most, maybe, of everything at the festival. I think probably in my top 3.
Yeah, there's a few others in the festival that we were obviously looking forward to, but we'll talk about that in a second. First, we got to get onto the socials, so I'm going to hand you over to Chris, who is going to talk through them.
Yep, so obviously Carl, who's kind of our resident commentator, I know he's been watching a lot of these, but we do want to hear from you as well. If you do have access to these films, if you are watching along with them, let us know what you are thinking of the London Film Festival so far. Films that you've seen, films that you're looking forward to. And I know, as we mentioned, these films in particular are going to get screened at a later date. I think this one in particular is going to go to Amazon Prime and, as we mentioned, BBC iPlayer as well. But do like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And you can find us on socials as well. Facebook at Cinema Savvy. And you can find us on Twitter at cinema_savvy. We do also have a TeePublic link in the description down below. We have a few shirts available for you to purchase if you want to do so. And yeah, they're all the socials out the way. I think we should dive deep into this film. I don't know how long this review is going to be. But for me, I think you guys knew more about this film going into it than I did. You kind of just pitched it to me. You know, it's 5 films have been made, which... in itself, although they are more, it is going to be geared towards TV. These are still, you know, I could have seen these in the cinema, like hands down.
This film was a 2-hour-long film.
Yeah.
This was a 2-hour-long film. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm just going to pop on the TV and watch maybe like an hour-long episode, hour and a half max, of a BBC TV show or something like that. This is a film. This is a fully fledged film.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised
going to go like, I'm going to make an anthology film. I'm going to make 5. I don't know if all of them are going to clock in at 2 hours or thereabouts. Maybe some are going to be
I'll be able to tell you that. I can pull them up.
But even just in terms of like a feat of filmmaking, that's incredible. Any other director could have made just one of these. And it was a hell of a way to kick it off. So as I said, I didn't even know much about the real life events of this. So this is based on the Mangrove Nine. Who I think we can bring the plot up here. So this is according to IMDb. Mangrove tells the story of the Mangrove Nine who clashed with London police in 1970. The trial that followed was the final judicial acknowledgement of behaviour motivated by racial hatred within the Metropolitan Police. So I knew nothing about that going into this film. And in fact, most of these films, probably all of them, I will be going into completely cold. And sometimes that's the best way to go into a film. This film was incredible. I loved it. Now, in terms of a film tackling this issue, I don't think it did it in a particularly new or innovative way. I will say, obviously, like the issues that it talks about are very important, and I do think this is an important film for everyone to watch. But in terms of how it portrayed everything, it didn't sort of do it in any kind of different stylistic way, and I kind of don't think it had to. I think, you know, you gravitate towards the characters, the situation, and their plight, essentially, what's going on and the system that's against them from the off. But my biggest takeaway from this is the performances. In particular, Shaun Parks, as I would say the lead. There are some more key characters in this film, and I think for me, he is the guy. He owns the Mangrove, plays the guy of Frank Critchlow, and Letitia Wright was phenomenal. There are two scenes in particular in this film. If we get into spoiler territory later, maybe I'll talk about them. But there's a scene that both of them share where they have sort of differing opinions at one part in the film, which was particularly powerful. And the ending, which I don't want to go into, there's a shot where it stays on Shaun Parks as things are happening in the courtroom. This is kind of mostly a courtroom film, and I love courtroom films. 12 Angry Men, To Kill a Mockingbird is probably one of the biggest comparisons I can think of with something like this. And it freezes on him, and you get every ounce of emotion from that moment. And it got me to that place, and tears were shed in that moment because I didn't know how the ending was going to go, not knowing about the events. So it was a surprise to me.
Very quickly, so the other films in the series, Lovers Rock is going to be an hour 10 minutes. Okay. Alex Wheatle is going to be an hour long. Education is going to be an hour long, and Red, White, and Blue, the last one is going to be an hour 20. The last one, starring John Boyega, probably one of the biggest names they got for this entire project. I'm going to go off the back and say the acting in this film was phenomenal. It was completely believable. It caught you in. It absolutely drew you in. And I felt like I couldn't take my eyes off the screen, like throughout any of the dialogue scenes. Just the way that they were kind of just talking, the accents that were coming through. We were talking about this before we went live. It was so fresh to hear like actually good accents being made here for the Windrush community and stuff like that. Like it was just brilliant. And the speeches that are made in the film, the anger that's shown by some of the characters, it's just a very solid film. Like you said, nothing new here in this film. This film is a very old school film in that sense that is just down to the acting. And the acting in this film is phenomenal. It completely carries it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with Steve McQueen films is that I've not seen Hunger or Shame, which is bad, but 12 Years a Slave is one of the most, even Oscar was one of those powerful films that had been for a long time. And jump to Widows as well, where Widows is an ensemble, but it's very much a character because every character's got their story arc. Some are more by the book than some of the others, but he always gets great performances out of the actors he brings to the films. And when he is writing his own projects as well, he didn't write, obviously, 12 Years a Slave, it's an adaptation of a diary. The fact that he is able to almost not write the roles around people, but he very much writes these characters and he gets the casting perfect so that you can have this authentic performance. And I think that's been one of his sort of signature traits. And Chris mentioned sort of the camera work, which I think is the biggest takeaway from this. He doesn't do this quick cut or anything like that. There's not even shake cam. He likes to linger on his shots, especially when it's key information or it's building up to a reveal. He sort of places the camera and lets action happen around it, lets people talk around it, let the scene take place, and it kind of puts you there as a viewer and also feel like you're there in the situation with them. And I think that's the key with this film. When you're tackling a courtroom drama, which are always, when they're done right, are phenomenal, and you want to be invested in how do you separate it from all the other ones that have ever been made. And I think this one had that. It had a different take on doing so with the cameras. And the fact it's not necessarily an ensemble film. It is about the nine. However, there are certainly 2 or 3 key players in this. Mm-hmm. But he does such a great job of building up to these key moments that kind of leave you broken at sides. And Mangrove, for me, to kick off properly this festival, to kick off maybe even BAFTA talk for next year, because certain episodes have been nominated at BAFTAs, maybe more so than the Academy. I think this was superb. And for me, one of my favourite directors, granted again, I've only seen half his films. The fact that he's gone and done TV. I mean, this started off as TV. This wasn't 5 films. This was an anthology TV series. Each episode was going to be about something different. Co-funded with BBC and Amazon, because BBC, let's be honest, couldn't afford to do this properly. And here we are. He's potentially got 5 class films out in a month. This was meant to premiere at Cannes. It still had the Cannes selection notice on it. This has been waiting and waiting for people to see. And I think this is going to be massive when this does get released, and even on a real life point of view things. Yeah. And this is something people need to watch. I mean, we're in a very different state of the world right now. It might be more crazy in a month, certainly with an election coming up. But this is something where I hope people do tune in. This is something I could see them being taught at school, because it's not about the current generation. It's about the generation before us, and they echo that point so well in this. That this isn't about us being the nine. This is about everyone after us, our generations below. I think it's such an integral point that I could see this being compulsory viewing for a lot of people. And you know what it should be. It doesn't. There is obviously clear racism in it, but it doesn't, to me, take anything that you can't show this to someone at school. Absolutely, this should be shown in sort of like ethics lessons and whatnot. But I was blown away by this. And the fact as well, you guys mentioned it was in the morning. It's you kind of wake up for this, and I would love to have seen this at a cinema, but it's harder when you're in your own room to be able to get that concentration. But this kind of had me there, from the music to the shots, the performances, and it was fun. And I know that sounds horrible to say about like a race one like this, but the way they sort of depict the Caribbean culture and how it's obviously been in the UK, and I think that's a really big thing for me, was that, you know, there are a lot of stereotypes places might have done, but this just felt like they'd genuinely done their research and they'd done an authentic sort of replication of all this. And I thought it was great, especially even some of the London, I've talked too long, but even some of the London backdrops, it felt right to the era. It's meant to be 1970. It didn't detract from that. It felt like it'd been perfectly done for its timepiece too.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things as well. I wanted to bring up was that element of culture that he was able to bring to this film. All the scenes in the Mangrove restaurant at the beginning where they're all dancing and celebrating and the steel drums come out, and there's a scene that's great. It almost situates you in that restaurant itself, where the camera kind of follows them as they lead out from the restaurant out into the streets. It was incredible, and I love that he was able to bring that side to it. I think that Act 2 is definitely more of that courtroom film, but the first part where it establishes these people and their livelihood, and they love to dance, they love to sing, they're just having a good time. I really like that he was able to show that side of the culture as well, and it was great. It was just great to see it realized on film.
Yeah, I want to touch quickly on George's comment on the music for the film, because it's very rare that you get a film where the music actually adds to the intensity of it. The only film that I can actually think of that was close to this is Whiplash, in the fact that you have that slow drum beat building up the tension, that kind of slow ticking over and everything like that, especially with the scenes towards the riot scene in the end, or the scene where they make the protest, where the drum beat's starting to get a little bit faster and a little bit louder as tensions start to rise and stuff like that, especially in the court scene as well. They do exactly the same, and you just fixate, and that's all you can watch. And like you were saying, it's quite difficult to concentrate when you're watching a film at home. And we've already said this in kind of our favorite moments from going to the cinema video. We touched on it a lot about how home cinema will never be the same as actual cinema, which is why we're very kind of disappointed that cinemas are closing the UK at the moment. But this film, it just drew me in. It completely took all of my focus, and just I was taken by it. It was just so I can't even describe it. It was just so mesmerizing to watch, and it was such a fantastic story that they could tell. And I do think this will become compulsory in schools. I think that this is going to be shown everywhere, especially because it's on BBC, and BBC love giving away their resources. This will be on iPlayer, all 5 of these films, and schools will probably watch them. If not, teachers will go and buy like the box set of all 5 of them, and then just kind of show which one is needed. But just for the starting film of the festival as well, what a film to start off with. How poignant a film to start off with.
I say the writing was really fantastic in this thing. So I think, this one in particular was written by McQueen and Alistair Siddons. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The ending monologue in the courtroom, delivered by Malaki Kirby, plays the character of Darkness.
I was going to say you've missed him out there, because he was phenomenal in that role as well.
That ending speech, and as I mentioned, the still shot at the end, where it just, as they're delivering their verdict at the end, was. I mean, it takes a special film for me to like to either one of you. Like, it's either a very bad film that's angered me and hurt me as a person, or a film that's fantastic where I'll go to either one of you guys and I'll send a voice message or I'll send a message just going as soon as the credits hit, like, wow, that was something special. This is without a doubt. I know that it's only just kickstarted with this film. This is my favorite film that I've seen so far. Some of the films have been sort of okay. Siberia really wasn't good at all. So I've had a blend of
Farewell and War was good, Chris. I sold you on it last night.
That's true. But no, this one stuck with me. It's one of those films that I think is going to be maybe actually to a lesser extent than Detroit, because Detroit's one of the greatest films I've seen. That film is disturbing, haunting, but it's a film that I've watched, I've experienced. I think everyone should watch it, but I can't ever find myself in that place to watch it again. That's not to detract from the film at all, but it's heavy going. This one I could watch again. I think it does. Georgie mentioned it's got that element of fun, which I agree, that culture element to it. And the characters, and it does. I don't want to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil the ending. You can do your research. But it does end on a kind of poignant note where it sort of looks to the future. And obviously we do have the hindsight of future that things are still exactly the same, mostly. Maybe slightly improved, but, you know.
I'm going to ask the question, could there have been a more relevant or poignant film to start this festival off?
Probably not right now. I mean, we've got One Night in Miami, which looks like it's going to be... I mean, that's one of the headliners that's come very late.
Huge hit, yeah.
And that's very similar. I think it's like a court case American drama. So there's going to be a couple of them. And Lovers Rock, I know nothing about, and I'm trying to go into that as cold as I can. I
thought One Night in Miami was like Malcolm X. Who else is there? Muhammad Ali all meeting in a hotel room, and kind of what happens when they meet. Yeah,
it's very political. I'm very excited because obviously Regina King. I always keep calling her Regina George. That's the one from Mean Girls. It's a very different person. For her directorial debut, and it's sort of smashed the festivals it's been at, and it swamped some of the films that other people have been hyping up a lot. It's a very good start to this festival, and I'm kind of gutted for not getting Red, White, and Blue, because that opened up at New York Festival last week, and they got 3 of them. They got Mangrove, Lovers Rock, and Red, White, and Blue. If there's a last-minute announcement, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think there will be, but
well, that's why I asked how many we were getting, because I saw that.
Yeah, the problem is Alex Wheatle and Education is only 1 hour long. Lovers Rock is an hour, 8 minutes, hour 10 minutes. Red, White, and Blue is a little bit longer, but like I don't think they would have done those 2 middle ones. But I would be quite excited if they put out Red, White, and Blue for this festival as well as like a surprise film. Are they doing a mystery film this year?
I don't think so this year. It'd be a shame, but especially if you even delve, not that we need to delve into real life stuff right now, but we've all spoken on this channel a lot about John Boyega and his activism over the last few months, and how even last few weeks with the advertising stuff, he is on I don't want to say streak, he is on a very good space, and if he can get this drama behind him, keep pushing him to the next level, I think Steve McQueen's on something again. I adore Widows, and I think he's truly becoming one of the best filmmakers, and he doesn't do a lot, but the fact he did 5 films back to back is remarkable for anyone. And even if it's a drama, it's the fact there's 5. He's probably written them all at the same time. He's probably this concept for ages. He's chosen to make an anthology. I could have seen Mangrove being a 5-part BBC drama across 6 weeks without a shadow of a doubt. You could have eaten that, but no, he made it a 2-hour. And you know what? Fair play to the studios for backing him as well, and say, you know what? Okay, it can be 2 hours. We'll fund that. And I think that's what's made a massive difference for this, is that he's got the backing. And again, being a British production at the BFI Film Festival, British Film Institute sponsor it, they own it. I don't think you had a better pairing for this. I think they had the perfect film to open it with for their festival with one of Britain's best directors. So the more credit he can get, the better. I think I'm on my own in saying how much I love Widows. I did put that film of the year.
I started seeing Widows, so
I do watch is tremendous, but I need to watch Hunger and Shame, which are both like Fassbender's big breakthroughs.
I've heard Hunger and Shame absolutely phenomenal.
But I don't have too much more to say on this. I mean, performance-wise, I just have to echo you both. I think everyone's great. I think when you get an ensemble, it's hard to balance them, but the hardest thing about an ensemble cast is you need to write every character different from the other. This felt like different characters. This didn't feel like one sole character and they took parts of him and made it a character elsewhere. I think this had the right balance of who you believed in. Even when they're introducing characters late on, we have Jack Lowden, who obviously we all know from Dunkirk as the pilot, coming in as a lawyer. He had this burst of energy to it. Then we had the sort of the judge at the courtroom. There was more names being added, and it just added to the not just the occasion, but I think the tension with this, because there were scenes that were very tense that have these lingering shots. You'd always assume something would happen. Maybe if it didn't, that's personally probably because I don't know the real life story of things, but it's edited in a way that you don't know what's going to happen next. And we've seen so many of these films where you may expect something to happen and it doesn't. I think it just made this even better.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I've said everything I can. Go watch this film if you can. If you can get it to it before, if you have got to it before, if not, then you haven't got all too long to wait for it. But definitely a film that I think everyone should watch at least once. It's an important message, and looking forward to seeing the rest of this anthology series. Even though we're only getting one more at the actual film festival, but yeah, way to kick it off. It's got a tough act to follow. All the following films. I think I'm watching one tomorrow. I'm gutted that I'm going to be missing One Night in Miami. I know I've talked about that, and just hearing you guys talk about it, I'm like, oh god damn it!
Fine,
like,
Chris. You're missing One Night in Miami. I am missing Supernova. So I'm
missing Ammonite. So thanks Cineworld, thanks studios, the UK government. Thank you, not just for that, but many other things. But Ammonite's now going to be one to get had. And you know what I'll say to add on as a final thought. Fair play for them making this film an online press screening, because so many of these big films have chosen not to do any press screenings online. Like, Nomadland is Ballot, which is
what is happening with Soul. No one knows at the moment.
No press for Soul, no press for Ammonites. I understand that they obviously, distributors don't want some of these things online, but fair play to Steve McQueen saying, you know what, everyone can access this, because ultimately we're all going to access it on our TVs in a month when it's on BBC.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where I'm happy they showed this rather than wait, because it just is able to not even spread the word out. Word of mouth's a big thing, but there will be people that I think when they ramp up the marketing in the next couple of weeks, I think when we head into November, I'll be seeing a lot more adverts and stuff for it, and this is potentially going to be...
They just released I believe they put an advert out on BBC One tonight with the entire Small Axe series advert on BBC One that was released tonight.
So it coincided with today's premiere, so...
I assume so.
I'm very intrigued by it. I'm excited, and I hope if this is episode 1, I'm really hopeful the others can follow with this.
I wonder whether it'll become a multi-series where maybe another director comes in and shares their own stories of like the Black Lives Matter movement, or at least kind of experience of being black in Britain and stuff like that.
It's possible. I think this is McQueen's baby, though, and I think if it passed to another director, it would feel like it's trying to be a cheap imitation. Not to say that other filmmakers don't have their voice to be heard, but it would feel like it would lose the spark of this idea that McQueen's had to do these 5 films.
The next question is, would he do another set of films?
I don't know. It's a nice break for him, though, isn't it? I mean, he's 12 Years a Slave, one of the biggest films. As I mentioned, I'm not the biggest fan of Widows. I do like some of the performances in it, though. So it's almost like I want to say he's taking, when you see someone who's like a feature filmmaker and then they go to TV, you think, oh, they're kind of taking a backseat. 5 films though, so it's just it's if not more work to do that than it is for the main feature, even if some of them perhaps aren't as high budget as some of the others. But I think he'll go back to feature films after this. I think the guy deserves a well-earned break though after all these. I will say that.
Definitely.
But definitely going to be seeing these at BAFTAs and stuff like that, without a shadow of a doubt, and quite rightly so. So I've rounded off. I think I've pretty much said everything I can.
I've said everything I can as well. I think we've all have.
Yeah, we'll just do one more blast of the socials. So, as we mentioned at the beginning, we want to hear from you guys. If you are watching these films as well at home, London Film Festival, maybe you're watching a whole bunch of different films to the ones that we are, ones that we haven't covered. As we mentioned, there are a hell of a lot of movies, and it's not humanly possible to cover them all. We're doing the best we can. So, we want to hear from you guys. If you have watched this film, as we mentioned, this is the big one that's kicked off the festival now. Let us know what you think of it. And as always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Help us get us closer to those goals that we want to achieve with the channel. And best way to keep updated with all of our content is to follow us on social media. So Facebook at Cinema Savvy, we've got Twitter at Cinema_Savvy, and if you do want to pick up any merch or anything like that, we do have a few t-shirts available on TeePublic, and the link to that is in the description down below. As always, I always keep forgetting the name of the film that I'm watching tomorrow, but I believe I have one tomorrow morning to watch.
The next one,
I don't have one tomorrow. I've got one. I've got a couple on Friday, so nothing tomorrow for me. I have a day off.
I'm going to double check if I have a day off really, really quickly. This is so professional. As always, I plan ahead. Let's have a look. Oh, no, it is Friday. No,
my
I take
timetable is all
Friday.
over the place with dates and stuff like that. So the next one I think I'm going to be on, because I sadly won't be able to watch Supernova on Friday, is going to be Wolf Walkers on Saturday.
It's the ultimate weekend, and I'm going to miss both of those films. It's okay. There'll be plenty more. But anyway, we've rambled on for long enough. So
yes, we have.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you on the next review.